Alrighty, so hello and welcome. We will get right into it. A few housekeeping things before we get going. As you may have seen, this is a recorded webinar, so everyone will have access to the recording afterwards, as well as our slide deck. So we'll make sure everybody can access the slide deck, which may have links in there that you can click on, or if you miss something. So don't worry about frantically taking notes. You'll be able to get the slide deck afterwards. And then throughout today's webinar, if you do have questions, feel free to throw those in the chat and we'll get to them as we can and respond throughout. And then if we can't answer your question today for whatever reason, we'll definitely reach out to you individually and make sure you get the answer that you're looking for. As Allison mentioned, we're all from the Healthier Together team. So Healthier Together is your kind of one-stop shop for everything wellness, where you can track your healthy habits, log activities, steps, and then also find any resources that would be available to you. You can, if you're not already registered, you can utilize this information here, the link to sign up, get started. It's all at no cost to the employees, so definitely take advantage of Healthier Together. There are so many resources out there for you to utilize. So before we get going, we have a poll question that is launching right now. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current eating habits? 1 being you're not really confident in how well you're eating. You're not necessarily eating how you want to, maybe not meeting the recommendations. And then 10 being you're pretty confident, you're eating how you want to, how you envision, meeting daily recommendations. So just to give us an idea of where you feel you're at, doesn't necessarily meaning if you're eating all really healthy foods or anything like that, just if you're eating how you want to be eating in accordance to your goals. So we've got about 75% participated. So click on the poll that's popped up on your screen here. Give you about 10 more seconds to answer. All righty. So you should be able to see the results here. So a lot of people kind of in that middle, or a few people 7s and 8s. So feeling pretty confident, maybe eating how you want to. So hopefully we'll be able to give you some additional tips and tricks that you can try out, as well as just make you aware of the recommendations, because a lot of people don't know how much of something you're supposed to be eating. Well, thank you so much for participating. So we're going to get into talking about what is the best diet. So in the chat, go ahead and share a diet, a program, anything that you have tried in the past or that you have heard of. So what's a diet or program, anything that you've tried in the past? There's no right or wrong answers, no judging or anything like that. We just want to know what you've heard about, what you've tried. Awesome. And I'll read aloud any ones that get sent to me directly here. Our Canadian Health Guide, got a lot of intermittent fasting, WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers, paleo, keto, little Jenny Craig. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. So that's just to kind of get you thinking about the typical diets that you may have heard of. So with all those diets, it seems like everybody has the right way to eat, the right diet, the best way to do this, the best way to do that. And unfortunately, some of those diets don't necessarily work for everybody because they're not tailored to you. They don't work for what your goals are. Everyone has these best plans on the diet that will be the magical fix for you, but sometimes it always doesn't work that way and it may not be sustainable. So it's important that we kind of find some truths in the world of information overload. There is so many places nowadays that you can find information on nutrition, health, all of these topics. So Healthier Together is a great first place to go for that science-based information. But then also just taking note of what's included in the diets you're looking into and seeing if that's going to be the best thing for you. Like I mentioned, we all want that magical combination of foods that's going to make us feel great, keep us young, but there are so many different people in the world, and it's important to find a diet that works for you. There are over 7.5 billion people in the world, and we are all very diverse, so we need diverse diets. We all have different body compositions, different fitness levels. We all have different schedules, different priorities, budgets, dietary preferences, different biology, and different background of nutrition knowledge, different abilities, and different ethnic backgrounds. All of those things combined makes you who you are, and it's important that you treat your body in the way that's going to be best for you. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, what is the best diet? And the answer is the best diet is the one that will work for you. The best diet is one that you can actually stick to. You have to find goals that matter to you. You have to eat in ways that are best for you so that you can look, feel, and perform your best. There's a lot of research lately showing that the small differences in diets don't matter, such as the exact percentage of macronutrients you consume, or the specific food choices, the type of carbohydrate you eat. Those small little changes don't actually matter. It turns out many diets work for various goals, but only if people can do them consistently and sustainably. So how do you find the right diet for you? A diet is defined as a special course of food to which one restricts oneself either to lose weight or for medical reasons. So today, and as Laura's speaking on the recommendations, try to change your thinking from going on a diet to establishing a healthy dietary pattern. And that also kind of goes along with the idea of good nutrition. So what is good nutrition? It's a science. It's strong research data that's continuously updated as more evidence becomes available. So our goal for you today is to kind of learn what it takes to have good nutrition or a healthy dietary pattern and go in accordance with the Canadian guidelines for the recommendations for the types of foods that you should be incorporating into your dietary pattern. So good nutrition controls our energy balance. That is so important. Our calories in and our calories out. Good nutrition can give us nutrients for our digestive system to absorb and distribute to our muscles, our brain, our other organs, so that we can look, feel, and perform our best. Good nutrition is sustainable. We need a lifestyle that we can achieve and adapt for the rest of our lives. Not only thinking about sustainability for ourselves and our own follow through with our goals, but also considering sustainability for the planet. Good nutrition involves awareness and attention so that you can slow down, eat mindfully, and notice your body's feedback and then make those food choices consciously. Good nutrition also promotes regular movement so that our nutrients can work better for us. And lastly, good nutrition is outcome-based. It's tailored to you and how your body reacts. We all have our different needs and goals, and our lifestyles should reflect those different needs and goals. If things aren't working out how we want them to, and we aren't seeing the outcomes we had hoped, we need to adjust and understand that that is okay to do. So let's break down good nutrition by understanding our energy balance. So all food gives us energy and fuel. On the left side of the scale, you'll see your energy intake. So this is typically measured in calories, and the scale explains your calories in and your calories out. The food that we eat contains macronutrients such as carbs or proteins, and then micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. So everything that we put into our body factors into our energy balance. Now, on the right side of the scale, you'll see three different categories of our energy expenditure or our calories out. So the first would be physical activity. So this can be planned exercise that you do, hopping on to a YouTube live stream or going ice skating, playing hockey, playing basketball, any sort of activity where you're up and moving. And this also is, standing at your desk, walking to the water fountain, all those different things play into the amount of calories that you are burning throughout the day. And then you have your resting metabolic rate, also known as basal metabolic rate, or basically your metabolism. So this is the amount of calories that your body burns by simply existing. If you are at complete rest, your body burns calories just to keep your normal functions going in your body. And then last is TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. A simpler way to think about this is as your body is digesting foods and metabolizing them, that takes energy as well. So foods like fats or some types of carbohydrates, those can digest quickly. It doesn't take as much energy to digest them. Whereas foods like protein or other complex carbohydrates, those burn more energy to simply just break them down. And we'll go over that a little more later. So without energy coming in to the body from food, our body can start to shut down processes that we don't absolutely need to survive, such as reproduction or some aspects of metabolism and brain function. That's why it's so important to always have enough calories coming in through foods and the beverages that you're consuming. But too much energy coming into the body can also cause problems. Inflammation may increase, plaques can form on our blood vessels, our blood pressure can go up, and we risk getting many chronic diseases. So to kind of wrap up my portion, good nutrition helps ensure that we don't eat too much or too little. And this means that we can stay healthy, fit, and strong, and we feel good, and our bodies show it. So like we said, if you have any questions about anything we're talking about, feel free to let us know in the chat. We're trying to go in depth a little more than your typical eat vegetables so that you know why you should be eating vegetables, because that's all really important too. So we have another poll question here. Now this one is just a fun little trivia question. Please, no cheating. Don't pop up Google really fast and look up the answer. Just go off of what your brain is telling you at this moment. So globally in 2021, what was the most consumed fruit in the world? So take your best guess. What was the most consumed fruit? Give you about 5 more seconds, a few people to vote still. All righty, thank you for participating. I'll share these results. So the majority was correct. Tomatoes was the most consumed fruit in the world in 2021. In 2020, it was apples. So, if you guessed apples, you're kind of on track. And then I just thought about 3 other random fruits to throw on there. So sorry if you picked the other ones. Now, a few fun facts about tomatoes is they're super rich in fiber, or high in fiber, and then they're rich in vitamin C and vitamin K. And they also are great. They contain a lot of antioxidants. So as your body does its normal functions, digests foods, exercises, all of that, those processes leave these things called free radicals in your body. So these extra things are just running around, and antioxidants come in and they get a hold, essentially, in layman's terms, they get a hold of those free radicals and they help get rid of them so they don't damage your body and cells. So that's why antioxidants are good for you. They're the free radical police. All right, heading over to Laura with some recommendations.
Hi, yes, thank you, Anna. That was very interesting. I would have not guessed tomatoes, but yes, so I'm going to dive into nutritional recommendations for Canadians. Okay, so we're going to take each slide, which is great. I really suggest, now when you think of serving sizes, you probably get really confused. Like, well, I don't have just cups lying around with me when I'm making food, potentially maybe at work. So this is a great handy guide to serving sizes. And so you can just use your hand to guesstimate how much each serving size will be. So for example, fruit and vegetables, the recommendations for Canadians is to get 7 to 10 servings of vegetables and fruit per day. From the guide provided, you can see how much to use your hand to estimate serving sizes, compare them to the food options you eat. Now, some examples I have over here for your everyday, say for breakfast, and this is without snacks in between. For breakfast, having a cup of fruit juice, a whole fruit, half cup of dried fruit, and so forth. So I gave you some examples there, and these options all equal 10 servings. So really, it's not a lot when you think about it. Now the grain recommendations. Daily examples, of course, we want to get 6 to 8 servings per day. Some breakfasts, a small bagel, 60 grams of cold cereal, and so on. And again, you can use your hand to estimate that. So slice of bread being your hand, a half a cup or a half a hand. My hand's pretty small, so probably a half a cup of pasta. And for the recommendations of 6 to 8 servings per day. Protein recommendations, 2 to 3 servings per day. Again, some examples, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, some fish for lunch, 2.5 ounces of chicken, and that's it. That's 3 ounces, or excuse me, 3 servings. I know that this is the same in the US as well, doing the palm of your hand for meat and poultry and fish as well. Peanut butters are your 2 thumbs. Dairy recommendations, 2 to 3 servings per day. And again, some examples there of what that would look like in your normal day. Some yogurt, cheese, a cup of milk. And again, they have the hand serving sizes, which I thought was interesting was the cheese. It's 2 thumbs. So that's really interesting, or 1.5 ounces. Fat recommendations, 2 to 3 tablespoons per day. So this is very, very minimal, of course, a teaspoon of butter here, maybe some mayo with your sandwiches for lunch, and a tablespoon of oil in the evening. And again, most of them are thumb, and again, teaspoon or tablespoon. And of course, sweet and salty recommendations. From the research I was looking at, it was just stating limiting your intake per day. Some examples here talking about chocolate, having it just once in a while, avoid buying the large bags of single serving chocolates. Baked goods, as you all probably know, just having them every now and then. Same thing with salty snacks. But they suggested put a handful of chips or pretzels in a plate instead of eating out of the whole bag. So just taking a handful. And of course, water. Water should be your #1 source of hydration. Some examples of adding more flavor to your water could add cucumber slices, mint, berries, and for coffee. So coffee is my kind of weakness, but they said sweetened coffee beverages can be high in sugar. So when you go to the coffee store, ask for a plain latte or cappuccino with skim milk, 1% or 2% milk. Okay, now this is where the fun's going to come in. We're going to read some nutritional labels here. So here I'm going to compare 2 nutritional labels for 2 different spaghetti sauces, Canada Red and Classico. Today, we're going to be looking at percentage of daily value of fat, sugar, and sodium. Obesity and chronic diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease are a major public health concern in Canada. Diet, particularly a diet that is high in sodium, sugars, and saturated fat, is one of the top risk factors for chronic diseases. So in the grocery store, you might see Classical is the more expensive option, so it should be the healthiest option, right? Well, let's take a closer look. Both have a serving size of a half a cup. Canada Red has 60 calories per serving, while Classico has 70. Now let's dive into fats. As you may or may not know, there are 3 different kinds of fats: trans fat, saturated fat, and unsaturated fat. Trans fats can be found naturally in some animal-based foods or can be industrialized, produced. They occur naturally in foods such as beef, lamb, and dairy products. Industrially produced trans fats are formed during food processing. Some liquid vegetable oils, such as canola and soybean oil, contain small amounts of trans fats. These are formed unavoidably during the refining process. In the past, the main source of industrialized produced trans fats were partially hydrogenated oils. These oils were used by food manufacturers to improve the shelf life and texture of the food, such as hard margarines, vegetable shortenings, and commercially baked goods like cookies. Saturated fats are found in foods such as dairy products, including butter, cheese, and whole milk, animal-based foods, including beef, chicken, lamb, pork, and veal. But they're also found in palm oil, coconut oil, lard, and shortening. Nearly half of Canadians consume too much saturated fat. Unsaturated fat. So there are actually two different types of unsaturated fat: polyunsaturated fat and monounsaturated fat. Polyunsaturated fats are found in nuts and seeds, fatty fish, such as mackerel, salmon, and trout, vegetable oils, including corn, soybean, flaxseed, sunflower. Monosaturated fats are found in avocados, nuts and seeds, vegetable oil, including olive, peanut, sesame seed, and sunflower. All right, so the trans and saturated fat, too much of those are not obviously good for your health. Both trans and saturated fats can raise the levels of bad cholesterol, LDL. Trans fats can also lower the levels of good cholesterol, HDL, when compared to other dietary fats. To help decrease trans fat and saturated fat intakes, select lower fat dairy products and lean meats when choosing these foods. The daily percent of daily value of both saturated fat and trans fat should be as low as possible. Unsaturated fats are good for your health. In fact, some are essential to healthy functioning of the body. Replacing foods that are higher in saturated and trans fats with foods that are higher in unsaturated fats will help lower your LDL cholesterol, that bad cholesterol, and help balance the ratio of LDL and HDL cholesterol in your blood. These effects can help reduce the risk of heart disease. Okay, so we got the fats down. Now, Canada Dry has 2 grams of fat per serving, with a 0.3 grams of that coming from saturated fat. Classico has 1 gram of fat with 0 grams coming from saturated fat. One interesting fact that I discovered was that food manufacturers do not have to list unsaturated fats in their nutritional labels. All right, next coming on up, let's take a look at sugar. Now, sugar, this is a lot. You'll be surprised of what things have sugar in them. And so tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce has quite a bit of sugar. Canada Red has 5 grams of sugar per serving, while Classico has 9 grams. Sugars are found in fruit, vegetables, and milk. These foods can also contain essential nutrients such as fiber, vitamins, and potassium when sugars are found naturally. Sugars are also found in high amounts of fruit juice, honeys, and syrups. Sugars are added to many foods during processing or preparation in order to add taste, texture, or color. Sugars, of course, can also be used to preserve foods such as fruit jams and jellies. And of course, sugary drinks like soft drinks, sport drinks, energy drinks are not recommended. Health Canada recommends a healthy eating pattern where most sugars come from fruit, vegetables, and unsweetened dairy products, such as plain milk or yogurt. Other sources of sugar can increase calories without benefiting your health. All right. Last but not least, sodium. Canada Red has 460 milligrams per serving, and Classico has 480 milligrams per serving. The average daily sodium intake of Canadians is currently estimated at 2,760 milligrams, which is higher than the estimated goal of not exceeding 2,300 milligrams per day, which is equivalent of just over 1 teaspoon of salt. So if you consumed 1 cup of classical spaghetti sauce, you would be consuming 960 milligrams of sodium, which is 41% of your daily value of sodium. This means that Canadians are still consuming too much sodium, putting them at higher risk of high blood pressure and therefore heart disease and stroke. Bakery products, mixed dishes, and processed meats account for half of the sodium Canadians consume. Other important contributors include cheeses, soups, sauces, and condiments. Highly produced foods are processed and prepared foods and drinks that add excess sodium, sugar, or saturated fat to the diets of Canadians. And of course, like highly processed foods can include sugary drinks, chocolates, ice cream, fast food, processed meats like sausage and deli meats. Okay, and then on our next slide, I just compared 2 potato chips as well, just for your own knowledge, if you would like. And just comparing these two, you might say, oh, this one, again, since it's more expensive, it should be the healthier options, but really pay attention to those food labels. And of course, discuss and think about some of those 3 main things that we talked about, the fat, the sodium, and the sugar for those food choices.
So Laura, if we go back to, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh.
If somebody was comparing these 2 labels, which would you recommend?
See, that is a really tough one. Again, at first glance, you're thinking, oh, this is a fancy jar with it's more expensive. But, I would say that they're roughly the same. I mean, yes, of course, Classico has a little bit more sodium milligrams wise, but they're less in fat. Okay, 1 gram less in fat. They're 10 more calories per serving. So that's kind of a draw. That's kind of an interesting kind of comparison. And I guess it depends on what are you looking for foods that are going to be a little bit lower in sodium? Then yeah, go with Canada Red. Are you looking for food that is going to be less in fat? Then go to Classico. So I think though, in the grand scheme of things, they're about the same in my eye.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I would say too. And just another thing to chime in is always depending on what you're eating throughout the rest of the day as well. So if you've had a lot of sodium, if you had some pretty salty things earlier in the day, then later on, maybe you would want to go they have reduced sodium or low sodium pre-made spaghetti sauces, or you could make your own too, which then you can add in, the things that you like.
Yeah. And what's interesting on Canadian, and I'm not for sure, I don't think we have this in the US, but Canadian nutritional facts at the very bottom of Canada Red, you can see here, they make this really convenient. It says 5% or less is a little, 15% or more is a lot. So when you go over to the daily percent value, you can see over here, and you can see that sodium, boom, right there, that 20% just in that a half a cup. And so that's, I think, really convenient to kind of taste the guesswork on how much is too much.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much. And as people, Kyle threw his idea in the chat too. If you have any questions specifically, just feel free to let us know. So coming into another poll question. Let's see. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Okay, so launching for you here is our last poll question. So thinking about areas of nutrition, what area of nutrition do you struggle with the most? If you have another thing that you're struggling with, feel free to share in the chat. This just helps us know as we're creating new content for webinars or tip sheets, things like that, what you're looking to work on the most. Good feedback for us. And then a way for you to self-reflect as well. So take about 10 more seconds, see if we can get everyone to answer this one. Awesome. All righty. I will share these results here. So what areas are people struggling with the most? A pretty mixed bag, a lot of different suggestions, comments. And if no one selected other, but if you have something else you're working on too, feel free to throw that in the chat. Got quite a few people with the sweet tooth. So definitely looking at if sweets are your thing to go for, then like Kyle mentioned in the chat, going for the Canada Red, which had less sugar in it because, you'll be having sugar on later on in the day. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we will switch over to Kyle to talk about eating healthy tips and just some things to consider.
Thanks, Anna. Sorry, everyone. I'm having some internet speed issues, so I can't show my face on camera. So I hope my voice and my tips that I have for you moving forward are good enough. Just to kind of piggyback on kind of what Anna was mentioning and into what Laura was saying as well. As I mentioned in chat, me personally, if I was choosing a tomato sauce, I'd probably choose the Canada Red. And like Anna was saying earlier, not all diets or not all healthy eating is going to be straightforward for each person. It's going to be different, and you got to find what works for you. So if you're someone that is focused on, let's say, the quality of ingredients and less sugars, go that direction, and that might lead you towards different food items than maybe someone else. So moving into tips, my first tip here that I have for us today is called the 10-5-10 rule. Now, this is a simple rule or eating pattern that considers stomach to brain communication, targeting both the satiety center of the brain and the taste center of the brain. So it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to receive the signal from your stomach saying that you are full. Again, that satiety center. So this 25-minute eating sequence helps to allow yourself to reach that fullness while decreasing the amount of food you may consume. The catch is you cannot eat really fast. And this is something that myself and my wife are actually working on ourselves. We are very activity-oriented people, and sometimes we just essentially smash food into our mouths to then get back to our activities. So we are working on trying to slow down and taste our food. So again, think of that timing of that response from stomach to brain. You eat fast, which leads to possibly more calories consumed before you receive that fullness signal. When using this rule, you need to slow down your eating. For people out here who love the taste of food, this is the opportunity. As you chew slowly, you can better enjoy every bite and the taste of each bite. Sweet, bitter, savory, all those taste profiles. So next time you're eating a meal, grab something to set a timer, maybe your phone, a stopwatch, whatever you have available to yourself, and start by eating slowly for 10 minutes. Once the first 10 minutes is up, stop eating for 5 minutes. Be aware of your level of fullness at this time. Then continue eating slowly for another 10 minutes. If you feel full at any point during the second 10-minute interval, stop eating and allow yourself to recognize that you are full, and pack up your meal, put it away, don't touch it anymore, and just be done. My next tip, a little different approach of eating and incorporating different foods, called the crowding out principle. This is a great approach for a couple different categories of people. Those who have been unsuccessful with restrictive diets in the past, or individuals who want to make better choices, eat less calories, but you don't want to lose out on the foods that you enjoy. This principle might take a little bit of time to really turn into a proper routine and a good habit. It's not a jump all-in method like most restrictive diets can be. So again, the crowding out principle involves adding more healthy foods rather than cutting back on the foods you enjoy. So in theory, the more good foods you add to your meals, to your plate, the less room you have for bad foods, as long as you try to be intentional about eating those good foods first. So gradually adding more of those healthy foods in, not restricting or punishing your body for the foods that you currently enjoy, eating more nutritious foods and nutrient-dense foods will ultimately lead to fullness for longer as well. So you might actually notice over time those cravings that you have for maybe sugary foods or salty snacks might subside. And then this is really a good method that can be utilized for a lifetime as long as it's regularly practiced and maintained. And then into a few more tips here, some that are just kind of generalized, not as specific strategies like the 10-5-10 rule or the crowding out principle, but things that you can do like smaller plates or portions. So maybe using a smaller dinner plate when you are plating your food, that might help decrease the amount of food that you consume in that one sitting. Or even maybe you're at a restaurant, place half your meal into a to-go box right away and only eat that portion that's just left in front of you. You just set the to-go box off to the side and you can eat it later or the next day. Pre-portioning foods and snacks is a good method as well. Maybe you come home from a shopping trip, take that moment to put carrots and celery into a little baggie so that way you can just grab and take it with you as a snack. Or popcorn. Popcorn is always a great low-calorie snack as well. You can take a larger bag of popcorn and pre-portion it out just to decrease that temptation of eating the whole bag of popcorn. And white cheddar popcorn is kind of my kryptonite, and I have many times have eaten a whole bag of white cheddar flavored popcorn in one sitting. Foods in high fiber and in protein will help you stay fuller longer. So having that regular consumption of these foods just tells your stomach and that metabolism aspect as well. It just takes longer for those food molecules to break down. So you have that satiety duration for longer. So you might not notice, you might not snack as often, or you'll be able to stay full longer. And then one more tip here, drink a glass of water if you feel hungry. Sometimes our brains, it recognizes that we're empty in some nature, but it doesn't know the difference between I'm hungry, I need food, or if I'm thirsty, I'm dehydrated. So sometimes just simply drinking a glass of water and waiting for that response to come back to let you know that, yes, all I needed to do was have a glass of water and I'm not hungry anymore, and you can keep moving forward. So some other useful resources here to aid in just nutrition and healthy eating. As Anna mentioned before, Healthier Together has the Virgin Pulse Nutrition Guide. So if you're maybe sitting here like, I love all these ideas, where do I start? How do I gain good habits moving forward? This is an excellent option to a good starting place. So by logging into Healthier Together and searching the Nutrition Guide, Virgin Pulse Nutrition Guide under the Programs tab, you'll be led here. And then clicking Start will take you through a few questions about how you want to eat, what your goals are. Very simplified questions that will lead into healthy habits that you can track on a daily basis through Healthier Together. Asking questions or healthy habits like, did you meal plan for this week? Did you add in a cup of vegetables? Lots of good options there just through that Virgin Pulse Nutrition Guide. And last but not least, the Canada Food Guide. Yes, Canada's Food Guide. As we are not experts in Canadian food recommendations, we just based on the sound of it from Anna, from especially Laura as well, a lot of good insight, a lot of good research, but you can always go back to the recommendations from the government for those insights on what is healthy for infants, what's healthy for adults, and different things like that. So take advantage of those resources.
And then I'll just quickly chime in here as well. With the Virgin Pulse Nutrition Guide, another great feature is as you take this quiz, it then customizes everything you see on Healthier Together from then on out. So when you log in, you'll see you have these daily cards that come up. by taking this nutrition guide, and there's also a sleep guide as well, it gives you customized tips and things to try in the future to help with those topics that you're working on.
Excellent. So that is it for our nutrition basics. I hope everyone was able to gain maybe at least one takeaway or multiple takeaways that you can utilize moving forward for your nutrition. If you do have any questions or need some help along the way, please connect with us. We are a free resource available to all of Medtronic. So if you're looking for assistance with nutrition or assistance maybe with pre and postnatal exercise, or just simply just maybe accountability, reach out to us. We can set up some 30-minute sessions for just some chats or some coaching. So thank you, everyone. You're welcome, Aaron, for customizing the presentation. But that is it for us. Again, so happy to be partnering with you guys with Canada Wellness Week. We love this partnership that we've gained over the last couple of years.